Amy Zaley with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for June 15. Today I share with you images and videos of the June 8 event on Capitol Hill celebrating Jerusalem Day, hosted by the Israel Allies Foundation in conjunction with the Israel Allies Caucus. 60 Congress members strong, bipartisan, this caucus is dedicated to developing policy that is mutually beneficial for the U.S. and Israel, our only democratic ally in the Middle East. Join us now to hear their inspirational words.
I've been to Israel a number of times, and Jerusalem 8 times. In fact, March was my 8th time. But how many people to Jerusalem? The Trump administration did some other great things, the Abraham Accords, recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel, defunding the Palestinian Authority, with some of us in Congress helped legislatively to accomplish that, and other good efforts as well. The Taylor Force Act, which I introduced and we all supported here. But moving the embassy is huge. When we had our meeting in Jerusalem with other parliamentarians and congressmen from around the world, there are about 20 countries represented there. A couple of those countries from Latin America were countries that also had moved their embassies to Jerusalem. Guatemala and Honduras, I believe, in particular. And there are others who are thinking about it, doing it even today.
I grew up in the holy city of Charleston. And the significance of that is I grew up with a real appreciation of the Jewish community. It's little known, but at the time of the American Revolution, the largest Jewish population in the New World was in Charleston, South Carolina. The first provincial constitution to recognize Judaism as a religion was the Provincial Constitution of South Carolina. And the first Jewish American elected official was in the Provincial Assembly of South Carolina. Sadly, the first Jewish American patriot killed in the American Revolution was Charleston, South Carolina. And so I grew up in that environment with such an appreciation of the Jewish community and what it's meant. And with that, of course, we appreciate the significance of the existence of Israel. And then it was so exciting to me, I had the opportunity to lead the 10-person delegation for the opening on May 14, 2018, for the embassy in Jerusalem. It was actually a vote of Congress in 1994 led by Newt Gingrich to provide that the embassy be relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But every president, when it would come up, they would be told that you can't do that. It will cause destabilization in the Middle East. There'll be riots everywhere. It'll be just havoc. And so when they told that to President
Gallivant and doing what you do in Washington, so we'll be overvoting for our country. And Doug mentioned Jerusalem, and as far as I'm concerned, other than the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, which I have to represent, there's no other city in the world really that I think is up there in my estimation.
Cincinnati.
Mark mentioned when the restoration of Jerusalem involved in something that is so important, and Joe Wilson actually now is the ranking member, soon to be the chair of the Middle East Committee of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and that's a position that I held some years back as well, and we have been advocates for such a long time. And Doug, as you mentioned, the longest co-chair across the globe out of 50 or so, which is really something. But the freedoms that Israel allows their citizens to enjoy is really a role model for the rest of the world under challenging circumstances and in a very tough neighborhood. So they need allies. And that's why when I was asked some years back to be one of the co-chairs of this caucus, I jumped at the chance because it's something near and dear to my heart. We'll continue to be. And just thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful Jerusalem Day. Thank you.
Religious aspect of being in Israel, but also the historical aspect of thousands of years, and the geopolitical aspects of not just today, but back through centuries in that aspect. And so it's important that we as individuals, we as groups, end up working in support a democracy within the Middle East, being able to support Israel, being able to support Jerusalem as a city that has so much history and so much importance to the world. And so I just want to thank y'all for being involved and engaged. Thank Doug and Steve for the work that they're doing as part of the Allies Foundation and want to continue to push forward in that regard.
This is a passage from a memoir, the 1967 war, reporting how Jerusalem was returned to full Israeli sovereignty. The passage is, "Then I heard Moshe Dayan and Uzi Narkis talking about entering the old city. There was still no permission of what to do, but Dayan said, 'If permission is given, where will you go into the city?' General Narkis began explaining to him where our forces were positioned at the Damascus Gate, Herod's Gate, Zion Gate, Jaffa Gate. Then Dayan said to him, why don't you go through the Lion's Gate?" We had never thought about that before. There was silence. And then Uzi said, "You know what, Moshe? Since the time of King David, Jerusalem has never been conquered from the east." Dayan said, "Then this will be the second and the last time." And with that, the conversation ended. I felt that with King David and the fighters of 1967 together, we were handing Jerusalem back to the Jewish people after a gap of 3,000 years. I remember getting goosebumps. Man is indeed fortunate to witness a moment of history such as this. To this very day, this is really a very emotional memory for me. I'd like now to recognize Amy Zawi from Jerusalem Connection International, a group the Israel Allies Foundation has had a great working relationship with. Amy?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this steamy Wednesday evening. My name is Amy Zawi. I'm with the Jerusalem Connection. We are an organization about 15 years old, founded by retired Brigadier General Jim Hutchins and his wife, Dr. Pat Hutchins, who incidentally used to teach art. She was a fine artist to many of the members of Congress, senators, and their spouses. So you might Google Hutchins and get a good education. But our organization is a Christian Zionist organization, but we partner with all faiths and all sides of the aisle to advocate for Israel and its right to exist, and right to exist without a double standard being applied to it. And we also advocate for Jewish people worldwide. Particularly, we inform, educate, and activate our followers to reach into their communities, into their voting booths, into their social media, into their churches, to fight anti-Semitism wherever they find it and identify anti-Zionism. And we do that through Wednesday video reports that come out by email or on our YouTube channel. And we have educational emails that go out every Friday. And we have a blog post, and we have original content as well as reposting informative articles from around the world. I invite you to learn about us at thejerusalemconnection.us. We have several philanthropic outreaches. We are working with a rabbi in Dnipro, Ukraine, providing resources for the vulnerable communities there who are unable to flee. We also helped with the Aliyah of getting Jewish Ukrainians out. We also work with Holocaust education very extensively, including last month being in Charleston with the Violence of Hope and bringing the Auschwitz album art revisited originals to the venues there to educate collectively over 10,000 South Carolinians on the Holocaust. That, incidentally, recent studies say that almost 80% of current high school students don't really know what it is or what really happened. So we are very much on the forefront of keeping education about the entire history of Israel, including its recent modern history, on the forefront of people's minds and in the classroom and in the news. Thank you all for coming. I was honored to be a part of the event on Capitol Hill on June 8th. Thank you, Israel Allies Foundation, for inviting the Jerusalem Connection to partake. Please consider following us on Facebook or LinkedIn, sign up for our twice-weekly email update, or periodically check our website, including our blog page, for important news updates. We also have Bible studies released every Friday. We are solely supported by the donations of our network and followers. If you support our mission, please feel free to give. Shavua Tov, and have a great